Most songs have major 7th chords, at least when it comes to jazz. And it's very important to be able to interpret any chord that you come across in a few different ways, just to keep it interesting both for you and for the listener. In this video, I'm going to go over 3 ways that you can interpret a major 7th chords that are a little bit out there. So there are some really sort of rich sounds with a lot of altered extensions, but at the same time, they sound really beautiful and they're really worthwhile adding to your vocabulary. And they're going to be very useful. It doesn't really matter if you're using them when you're improvising or when you're composing music or if you're arranging a song. My name is Jens Larsen. If you want to learn more about jazz guitar and use that to make music, then subscribe to my channel. If you want to make sure not to miss anything, then click the little bell notification icon next to the subscribe button. This first example is a variation of a sound that you are probably already familiar with, which is the Lydian Augmented sound. And what I'm doing here is that instead of playing a C major 7 sharp 5, then I'm using sort of the root of the tonic minor that usually is Lydian Augmented. So in this case, for a C chord, then that's A melodic minor. And I'm playing an A minor major, and in this case an A minor major with a 9, and then with a C in the bass. And that's giving me a few extra notes. Normally, when you have a C major 7 sharp 5, you wouldn't really want to add an A to that because that's going to clash with the G sharp, with the sharp 5. But in this way of playing it, then we actually kind of have these 2 major 7th intervals, and that's really adding a nice color, I think, to the sound of the chord. So we have the major 7 from C to B, and then also the one from A to G sharp. And that's really adding the sound of this. So the way I'm doing that, all the examples that I'm using in this video are on a 2-5-1 in the key of C major. The C major voicing in this first one is this drop 2 voicing, then moving to a G7 altered, which is a B major 7 flat 5 voicing, and then resolving that to my A minor major voicing here, which is then the A and then an E major triad, so E, G sharp and B. So we have the 13 or 6, and then the major 3rd, the sharp 5 and the major 7. The line that I'm playing over these changes is first a straight 2-5 with an altered dominant. So I'm starting with this pedal point idea. So, and then on the G7 altered, I'm actually using the chord voicing in the line. So first just playing the chord voicing, and then a short scale run. And on my C13 sharp 5 here, then I'm using a Triad Pair, because that's something I really like to use when it comes to melodic minor. And I'm using a Triad Pair of a D major and an E major triad. So first D major, and then E major, and then resolving to this low A that kind of sits really well in the voicing. I think most of the time, the type of sounds that I'm talking about in this video would be something that you would associate with or connect with really modern jazz. But in fact, this example is a type of chord that's been around for quite some time in jazz. You'll have examples of this already back in the 40s, because you'll find examples of it with Monk, and there's also a Strayhorn arrangement where he's using it, and Wayne Shorter used this as well. So this is a major 7, sharp 9, sharp 11 chord, this sound. And there are a few ways you can look at this chord. Of course, you can look at it as being a major 7 with a sharp 9 and a sharp 11. You can also look at it as being 2 triads on top of each other, 2 major triads. So what we have here is, that's also what I'm playing, a B major triad as upper structure, and then below that we have a C major triad. Now the way I'm playing it, I'm leaving out the G, just because that's practical. But the essence of it would be that it's a C major triad and a B major triad, so a B major triad over a C major triad, what you would also consider a polychord. The way I'm playing it in the example is first this D minor 11, and then a G7 flat 13. And here I can use the fact that to resolve to the C major 7 sharp 9 sharp 11, I just move the outer voices down a half step. So we have this resolution. scale that's associated with this type of chord is a minor scale, and it's the minor scale where the C major is the flat 6, and that's in this case E harmonic minor. So this scale also has those two triads, so it has a C major and a B major triad next to each other, and that's also what I'm using in this example of a lick using that sound. So the D minor part is just using a shell voicing and then a scale one, and then the G7 alto is also using a shell voicing but now from B. And then we get this line that's first, it's actually using the triad pair, so first C major triad, and then a B major triad, and then a short scale one to end on the sharp 9. The reason that I can keep on publishing videos every week is that there is a community of people over on Patreon that are supporting the channel. I'm very grateful for their support, and it's because of them that I can keep on making all these jazz guitar and music theory videos. If you want to help me keep making videos, then check out my Patreon page. And if you join us over on Patreon, then I can also give you something in return for your support. This example is using what you might call Michael Breger's favorite scale, which is the augmented scale. Of course, all the sort of strange scales that we're using in jazz, we all stole from classical music. So if you ever played Bartók on piano, then there's a fair chance that you also checked out some augmented scale. In this case, I'm playing first a D minor 7 with a 9 like this. Then I'm playing a G7 with a 9. And that's an on-alter chord in this case because that actually works a little bit better when I want to resolve, because the chord that I'm resolving to is this chord, and that's actually an E major 7 voicing with a C in the bass. So you can also look at it as being a C major 7 voicing here, and then a sharp 5 and a sharp 9. So it's a C major 7 with a sharp 5 and a sharp 9. The example that I'm playing is using this idea that we have a really straight ahead 2-5 that is then resolving to this sort of weird open sounding major 7 sharp 9 sound. So the D minor part is first just an F major 7 arpeggio and then sort of a cliche D minor line, and then the G7 phrase is really just based around a B diminished triad. So, and then the way this is resolving is then first to an A flat major triad, and then an E major triad, and then down to a C major triad. So I'm really using the 3 major triads to create the line, which is one of the strongest ways to make lines with this sound, because it otherwise sort of easily becomes just a bunch of leading notes and you don't really know what goes where with it. If you want to dig a little bit deeper into how you can use the augmented scale when you're improvising, then check out this video where I'm going over how it's constructed and also a lot of the different structures that you can find in there and how you can use them when you're improvising. If this is the first time you see one of my videos and you want to learn more about jazz guitar, then subscribe to my channel. If you want to help me keep making videos, then check out my Patreon page. That's about it for this time. Thank you for watching, and until next time.